to episode the big 3-0 of this show of the Red Sea podcast. I'm Dennis, and with such a big historic episode could be followed by a big historic result. But that's sadly, as we all have seen, not even near of being the case. So yeah, Gav will join me in like 5-10 minutes, so I will get on with everything typical until he is on and we can talk more analytically about the game and I don't just ramble on indefinitely. So, speaking of said typical stuff, do follow the show everywhere that you will see, even down in the description of the live stream or the video after if you're watching. Uh, Instagram and Twitter, as you all know, if you've followed me for a while, uh, or if you're new, have constant updates, news, and a lot, as much interaction as possible. Uh, I always make sure to know at least with as much certainty as I humanly can if anything is true before I do end up posting it. Uh, and of course, I'm open to answering any message, any comment, any questions, any collab ideas, anything. As I said myself, I have been working on a lot of things in the background. So, yeah, like, subscribe, follow, comment, message, questions, advice, doubts, absolutely anything your heart may desire. Uh, about Spotify, for those of you who do not know, the episodes usually go up a few hours after, or if not, if the shows go very late, the episodes will go up the next morning for now. I will find a way to be as fast as I can with all this. Uh, I didn't put a full time post up because I wanted to start the show immediately and get some starting thoughts out of the way. I do plan on writing something about the game and the league in general, since we are having a national team break now, tomorrow, along with the player ratings and the MVP of the game. So that's about it for everything more or less typical I wanted to get through. Do expect announcements from me throughout the national break. I did say that I was gonna get through some stuff within the week, but I did decide to wait until things calmed down and we didn't have at least football for a bit and get stuff prepared as thought and as well as possible, uh, especially the most important stuff. But part of the announcement will also be some confirmed collaborations, which will be something I think excited is an understatement for some stuff that's coming up, but it is part of, as I promised each and every one of you, this being a very big, big year for the show. Now, now, shall we very, very slowly get into the game? There is a lot to touch on, surprisingly, for a result that on the surface looks very boring, and let's not lie to ourselves. Um, it was nowhere near a good game. Uh, but there is still more or less a lot of details to to touch on. Uh, Beginning off, I do want to wish for the Ioannidis, of course, a swift recovery. Uh, Looks like a muscle issue. It looks like he will miss the games for the national team, which, as I said, it may have been a huge chance regarding today, but it is a huge, huge blow, especially when you have a game against England coming up. But we will get into that when it's time for uh, the pre-games for those. But yes, it looks like Ioannidis will be back after the national break. So it will probably be Pavlidis. It will probably be Pavlidis against uh, England. Now, getting done with the general bad news of the day, let's get into our bad news of the day. The lineup, of course, was Zolagis under the sticks, Ortega, Carmo, Retsos, and Costinha as the back four, Musakitis and Esse, Rodinei, Sergio Oliveira, and Gelson Martins, and Ayub El Kabi up top. So the lineup was the same, bar, of course, the absence of Chiquinho, which, as we said, was going to be an incredibly huge blow. And I think that showed even more than I even personally expected with the extremely disappointing performance of Sergio Oliveira. But again, we will get into that slowly. Underwhelming is a word that can be used to start. Underwhelming by the majority of people that um, that played today, uh, subs included. Honestly, I do want to touch on the refereeing a bit to get that out of the way because it is one of the first things that I do want to get out of the way every time. The refereeing was dodgy at best, but again, I am of the belief, and many people do tend to massively disagree with me, but I am of the belief that even if the ref is being dodgy, that was even if the ref does lean way of the home side or your opposition in whatever game, you can always beat that unless it's at a completely horrible uh, state, which it wasn't today. Was that because we didn't create enough chances? Maybe. But the cards alone and the fouls alone do just show what today was refereeing, right? But that is not what this show is focusing on. That is not what I will ever focus on again, except if it's just blatantly horrific. But that is truly a whole different story. Um, Now, I think I will start with the man that did underwhelm most of us, and that is Chiquinho's replacement with Chiquinho and William being out. And as it seems, because I was confused as well for whoever is still on the more confused side of everything. William was out of the squad for this game because he still hadn't fully recovered from some annoyance he had, minor injury he had from that tackle that he received against Atromdor. At least that's what Greek media say. Uh, so that's the most I can know. Whether that's for the better or whether that is for the worse. Now, Oliveira needs work. There is a reason Oliveira hasn't been starting games, and that's because he needs time. Was he good today? Not in the absolute slightest. But the main issue with Oliveira for me, at least, because you all know that again, I am one of the first that said that this transfer I'm not fully against, but I am very 50-50 regarding Oliveira in general. Uh, but he's not a bad player. Like we have seen the spells of positivity, and it's clear that today he was a starter because he had to be. Like we heard as well that Mendilibar was contemplating to even start Kostulas, which was such a breath of fresh air. Watching Kostulas and Mouzakitis play is honestly uh, such a joy. It's happiness of football. And you've probably been here for a bit because I've been rambling, haven't you?
Yeah, no, they've only been in here for like 10 seconds. You didn't give me too long.
Okay, okay, that's good enough. How are you, man?
Uh, doing all right. Pretty frustrating match we just witnessed, but other than that, I can't complain.
Yeah, as I said, the word I used to start everything was underwhelming by most.
Yeah, I mean, Panathinaikos did their thing. Their whole goal today was to make the game ugly and try to get under players' skin. I mean, you even saw Filip Mladenovic. I mean, one of the most embarrassing displays I've ever seen from a footballer. Spent all second half going after a 17-year-old Babis Kostulas for
As we
pretty
both got informed, that man is just mentally deranged. So,
Yeah, I mean it was embarrassing even for their standards. But yeah, like you said, it was disappointing because I think in a lot of ways, um, what powered us to that win on Thursday, the sharpness going forward, being 2 steps ahead of Braga, we didn't see that as much today. I think there are a few players that do absolutely get praise. I think Carmo and Rezos were fantastic again. Nothing got through them. Um, Zolakis, he had a solid performance. He made the one mistake where he dropped the ball on that corner.
for me, he's MVP. For me,
Oh yeah, I mean,
Zolakis is MVP.
absolutely. He made a mistake. He dropped the ball. He came for it, didn't get it, but he followed that up with 2 fantastic point blank saves. Which again, we could talk about like on Thursday. How many goalkeepers make that double save? Probably very few. So
We will get into this in a bit. Anyways, I do want to start with this. What penalty?
So I know what they're talking about. On that play where Solakis drops the cross, him and Retsos are like right next to each other. And Retsos has his eyes closed, head facing the other way because he's going up for a header. The ball momentarily drops into his arms that are like this. Not a penalty. Did he handle the ball? Yes. But he's looking the other way. The ball literally came from 6 inches above his head. There's no way again, his arms are into his body. Like handball, you know,
The rule is stupid. We've
the
said
rule
this
is
many times.
the rule is stupid, but I think you also have to judge it based on, where is he supposed to put his arm? Where's he supposed to put
Yeah,
his arm?
this is supposed to cut his fucking arm off. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I guess they should all just be double amputees out there with no hands.
and I
Um,
mean, Panathinaikos fans talking about a handball where they were calling for a handball when their own player did the handball. doesn't really make sense to me.
No, I mean,
Go on.
no way it was a penalty. Did he touch the ball with his hands? Yes. The ball momentarily, like again, it looks terrible in a freeze frame, but when you watch the actual play, the ball drops straight through his arms that are like this, hug against his own body, and the ball drops to two different Panathinaikos players. I mean, the reason they didn't score there is because they couldn't finish. It had nothing
That's why they're probably calling penalty, because they probably just saw the freeze frame.
Yeah, I mean, again, and
And
it looks.
it's the one time that I'm not throwing shade at Panathinaikos fans, because that's just Greek fan stupidity. We all judge from photos. Like, we shouldn't judge football from photos. I've said this many times.
Absolutely. I mean, again, we can both sit here and say the ball touched his hand, but there's more nuance to the handball rule than ball touch hand penalty. Like, again, there's literally nothing he could have done in that situation. It was clearly unintentional, and it's not like he held up the ball. The ball dropped. He touched it, it dropped. It didn't affect the play, nothing. So, yeah, I mean, that kind of sums up the game. That, that was probably their biggest chance to kind of get into, the missed opportunities comment. Olympiacos had several. El Kabi had one in the first half that was saved off the line by Ingason. I don't even have anything against El Kabi there. It was a perfectly placed shot. The defender just, did a really good job defending. Edse had a pretty clear shot on goal that he put wide early. And then there were a couple from El Capi in the second half where it was just like didn't get enough on the ball, too easy for Lodigin. And then at the end, I want to say that was Danny Garcia, not Yorgos Masouras. I saw a lot of people saying Masouras for that chance where
I'm confused. I think it was Garcia as well, but at this point, I need to, because I haven't had the chance to watch stuff back, because as I said, I wanted to start immediately to just get everything off my head. I don't know. I could swear it's Garcia, but now I'm.
The commentator said Garcia. Again, I don't know for certain either because I only saw the play once in real time. That was huge opportunity. If it was Danny Garcia, then it's like, damn, I wish we would have had a different player in that position because it was a great run. It was a great ball from Babis Kostulas. Couldn't finish it.
Kostulas got unlucky as well with the.
Yes, that was. Oh, I wanted him or Musa to score, and that was so close. You hate seeing those ones.
It reminded me a lot because I want to completely avoid people putting blame on Kostulas, because I think we as Greek fans are so dumb where we are going to put blame on a 16-year-old kid for a missed chance. It was the same as if anyone saw the Ag game yesterday or highlights. It was the same chance that the very experienced Pierrot missed, where he was right in front of goal.
I mean,
let's not start putting blame on kids.
Yeah, I mean, just because I think that people think just because he's that close to the goal that it's an easy finish. I mean, the ball comes out to him, blink of an eye. The fact that he was even there putting a foot on it, I think that says a lot. Football's fast. I mean,
it was a deflection as well, if I'm not that mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, super unpredictable. He had the right instincts to be there and to get an attempt at goal. But yeah, just because it's close to the goal doesn't mean that it's an easy opportunity to finish. I thought he was super, super bright when he came on. He was getting in players' heads without even saying anything just because of his play. I mean, I think that was the biggest difference today as well between the two sides is you saw Panathinaikos trying to do a lot of talking and a lot of the dirty work to try to, get under players' skins. And I think you saw Olympiacos responding on the pitch with their play rather than, all the chit chat.
At least the majority, because there were some that did fall for it, like Ortega, Garcia.
At the end, I think Rodine with that challenge on
and Rodine, yeah.
I mean, I don't think there was that much in it for the entire Panathinaikos bench to get up and Carlos Zeca to be shouting in his face. But that's
Carlos Zeca still has PTSD from whenever he sees Rousseff. So
there's a reason. There's a reason he's on the bench. That's all I'll say for that. There's a reason. He should count his lucky stars that he's still getting a paycheck to play football, because he doesn't do a lot of playing anymore, and I don't think he offers anything off the pitch. So, yeah, it was a frustrating game. I don't think it's the worst result in the world, considering it was away from home. It was a tough atmosphere. Unfortunately,
was it?
It's always difficult to go to these derbies away. I mean, yes, the crowd turnout from Panathinaikos today, with free tickets to a European match against Chelsea on the line, was embarrassing.
Or they'll probably concede 5
at least. I mean, that was embarrassing. But again, I mean, there was still a good 40, 50,000 people in the stadium. They were booing the entire match because they had nothing to sing or cheer for. So it's a tough place to play. Unfortunately, I think our performance was not good enough to warrant anything other than a draw. But we
absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst result, but it's super frustrating. These are the types of games that kind of separate the boys from the men as far as winning a title. If we do fall a couple points short in May, like, I think this is a game we look back on and like, we definitely could have done better here and capitalized on 3 or 4 of those chances, because we just weren't clinical enough.
Yeah, the problem for me at least is because I was pushing for a win today, not only because we haven't beat Panathinaikos away 4 years in a row now, which is insane in my head, but because we have already had 2 of the games where we can look back on and say what happened there, and now it's 3 and it's October. Mm-hmm. That's what was. Not that anyone. I closed. PAOOLY barely won with a Madi Camara goal in the 88th minute, and Olympiacos even missed a penalty. So I'm not that worried performance-wise by everyone, but I would have loved to go into the national break with a win. The only positive thing about today is that Alonso is probably going to stay as Panathinaikos coach.
That's probably the main positive. I mean, I cannot believe he was Mendilibar replacement at Sevilla last season. I heard that the other day. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, there is a reason he only... Before I say, do you know how long he lasted at Sevilla?
I have not looked that deep, but I assume that it's probably not very long because he is a terrible man.
Take a guess.
4 games.
Okay, no, not that. He lasted, I think, about 2 months.
So like 6 or 7 games, probably.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's the thing with Panathinaikos. I don't think they really have much of a game plan or a tactic. I think they rely on a lot of their individual players and the skill that they bring. And to be fair, I don't think Panathinaikos has a terrible squad. They definitely have a team to compete with us and Ike and Pauk, but there's no approach. I mean, it reminds me almost of Besnik Hassi or some of these shit managers we've had where there was no game plan. It was throw 11 guys out there and let them go play terrorist football because there is no approach from them. So
every time I hear that name, and my whole body just cringes up into a ball. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, that is hopefully they come out of the international break and lose another match and then lose a match. Well, I don't want them to lose matches in Europe as much as I love seeing it. Absolutely. I mean, at least Ten Hag kind of has tactics. Kind of. They're shit tactics, but there's something there.
Don't even know what to say about this, man. That's what I was gonna go build into, that if we want to be totally unbiased, which is hard to do when talking about such a scummy side, but Panathinaikos may even have their best squad in the last 5 years, talent-wise, purely talent-wise. Uh, as much as they can't shoot to save his life, he completely just destroyed Ortega today. Uh, Pelistri is a very, very good, very talented player. But as you said, it's just absolute Hasi type terrorist ball. Just Fakit Ioannidis is there somewhere. It's
Yeah.
that type of football. And there is a reason they are, what now? I think they're still eighth, if
Yeah,
I'm
they have
not mistaken.
9 points after what are we 6 matches in? I mean,
Yeah, and I'll check. Because I already did start saying my opinion. What did you think about Oliveira?
I mean, I don't think that he's a terrible footballer. I don't think that he can't be useful to us during the course of the season, but he cannot be in a high adrenaline, high pace match like we saw today. He was every time he was on the ball or getting involved with play, he was just always a step behind, and that's why every pass was getting deflected and he was getting tackled off the ball left and right. He's not quick enough anymore. He doesn't fit into that sort of situation. So I think that's where it hurt us today not to have someone like Willian, because I think he would have started if he didn't have whatever knock he has. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he works at the 10 for us. I think once Yazic comes in, he's definitely going to fill that role. I think Oliveira would be better further back, just because, again, when you're playing in that 10, you have 3 or 4 guys in a midfield triangle around you. You have to be quick with your decisions and moving the ball on, and he couldn't do that. So I think that was his biggest issue tonight. I'm not going to come out and say I hate Sergio Oliveira and I don't think he should ever play for us, but tonight was just not the night for him, and it showed. And once Babis Kostulas came on, we looked a lot better going forward. So I think that was the biggest difference. Is just he isn't quick or dynamic enough anymore to make an impact in a game like this.
I basically said the same thing, but the only thing I slightly disagree with you with is that I think it's not that much the fact that he's not that quick anymore, more than the fact that he needs time. Because as everyone saw with Chiquinho and William missing, and as you said, Oliveira started because he had to, not because he was going to. The commentator said as well that Mendilibar, and I can more or less confirm that as well, that Mendilibar was thinking about starting Babis Kostula and not Oliveira. So I am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because we have seen some positive things. But as you said, I would still put him as SS backup, for example, or Mozagetis is a backup, and not that far up. But I am really waiting to see what Yazici has to offer. This is a very interesting question.
I think we're only barely starting to see what that potential could look like. Diego Alonso?
No, 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 no.
Oh my god. Isn't that like the third coach already?
That is the third. That's the third coach.
That's
The Greek Super League. The Greek Super League.
the Super and Super League stands for super crazy because
Super cute.
nobody can keep their heads. Back to this though. I don't think we even have gotten to a point where we can project that. I think this past week we've started to see glimpses of what we could be capable of. Obviously, Christos Moustakidis coming in has changed this team drastically, and that's one player. We don't know what Yazic is going to bring. We don't know, Babis Kostulas, if he starts getting more time, how he could change this team. I think that he could be another catalyst similar
There
to.
is a big chance that Bakulas also comes in
Yeah,
after the national break.
Bakunas, Papacanelos. I mean, we have two or three. Uh, I mean, I'm a big Papacanelos guy. I know that some people are kind of.
No, but that's not nowhere near my opinion. I've been calling for him as much as you have. You know that I
Yeah,
just know that he's not highly rated. He's not considered that ready
yeah.
to be a part of this.
Well, I mean, think about where we thought, Muzakitis or Kostulas were a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I mean, these guys can burst onto the scene and show you something completely different. So, I mean, I think even Willian, I mean, he hasn't been fully integrated in the team yet. He hasn't made a start yet. Yorgos Masuras is just coming back from injury. So, I mean, I think the ceiling for this team is probably pretty high. I don't think we know how high yet, just because we haven't seen a lot of these pieces fully come into the fold. But I mean, the fact that we've had, some of the issues we've had personnel wise and players getting up to fitness, and we're still right there. I think we're only 2 points behind PAOK, or is it 3 now? I mean, we're right up in that conversation with these teams. PAOK are basically the same team as last season, 2 points. AEK are basically the same team as last season. Panathinaikos they've improved a lot, and we're way ahead of them. So, I think there's still a lot of progress to be made. And I think for everything considered, looking at the start we've had to this season, I'm pretty positive. I really think the only match we played where I was really, really disappointed was Aris. But they've even shown that they are obviously a much better team than we all assumed, because
They're second for a reason. I mean,
yeah, I mean, they look very good this season. They could be a surprise team. So I think it's pretty high. I think we're probably still a ways away from it. But to quantify that, who knows until we really see everybody come in.
speaking more generally, building on the point of Aris and I being the same team, Pauk more or less also being the same team, I think that we'll have the closest league we've had in quite some time. But I also think that this top four is gonna slowly just start to break away from everyone else.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. Building on this, of course, because as you know, my girlfriend is an Nike fan. Honestly, it's nice to get different fans' just opinion about everything. As much as Ike, for example, have improved in attack, they're lacking in defense. It's the same thing with Pauk. Pauk have a very good attack, but they're lacking again in defense. Uh,
well, when I say they're the same team, obviously I don't mean there hasn't been any changes. But if you look at the core of Ike and you look at the core of Pauk, right? How many big players did they lose this summer? I mean, Pauk lost Kouliarakis. I think that's a big loss for them.
Pauk for me lost their most quality player.
I mean, they still.
For Pauk, not as a player, for Pauk.
Yeah, I mean, if you took away, I mean, we lost Potenza, we lost Fortunis. I mean, if you took away that level of talent, you took away. I mean, take away the
Are
captain.
you speaking comparatively? No, nowhere near. Okay, yeah.
No, I mean,
No.
I think that speaks to where we're at and how well we're doing, because we lost a ton this offseason. I mean, really, our main retentions. They'll be unstoppable in the missed chances category. I mean, back to the point of like, I think if Ike had lost Levi Garcia, if Pauk had lost Kostadelias or Zivkovic or one of those guys, I mean, like, none of these other teams really lost a huge player like that. I would say Kouliarakis is the biggest one. You know, I think when you compare that to Olympiacos, who's basically had to kind of rebuild in a lot of ways and replace a lot of key guys, the fact that we're even in this title race conversation with these teams that have a lot more continuity than we do says a lot. I think it speaks
We
to,
had to rebuild in the worst of ways, I'd
yeah.
argue.
I mean, we how many starters did we lose? We lost our captain in Fortunis, who is arguably also our best player.
That's the biggest blow we've had.
Potense, Orta. I mean, even some of these guys who played like kind of more minor roles in the squad, but really made a difference. Like
Jovetic.
Jovetic, Iborra. I mean, there were a number of guys that we didn't bring back. Who we have to fill their shoes, their role in the squad. Mendilibar has to change his tactics to fit the players that we've lost, and we've more or less done that. I mean, and the fact that we've done so quickly and that we've maintained our competitiveness says a lot. I mean, you look at us compared to Panathinaikos or PAOK, who haven't had to rebuild as much as we have. We're the only one out of three of them that can win a match in Europe against. I mean, you look at the three teams that we played on Thursday. They were dropping points to FCSB and Banja Luka, who had never played any European competition before. We're over here thrashing.
I'm not that outspoken on PAOK's defeat because I am waiting. I'm always of the mindset that beat the team first and then talk your shit. But Panathinaikos was just embarrassing.
Both of them were. PAOK were playing a man up for 35 minutes against a team which, listen, FCSB, clearly they're better than people thought they were going to be, but they were always going to be one of the worst sides quality-wise in the Europa League.
By far as well.
By far. I mean, and they had their captain sent off. It's not like they had some random guy who didn't make that much of a difference for them. Their captain and probably their best player got sent off, and they had to go forward 35 minutes without him. And PAOK, in that time, did not create like a single really clear goal scoring opportunity. I mean, you look at the difference between us and them. I think the biggest part is Mendilibar and the work that he's done in keeping the squad together as he can with all these new players. But it speaks to, our core as well that we have retained. Guys like Retsos who have stepped up in a huge way. Guys like David Carmo. I mean,
Retsos's improvement has been so underrated.
We might be able to sell him for 20 million euro again at this rate. I mean, he's playing that well, and he's still relatively young.
Isn't he still like 25?
We sold him when he was 18, and that was 2017. So he's probably 25, 24, 25, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know what his birthday is.
26.
Okay. I mean, again, he's not in his prime yet, especially for a defender. Most defenders aren't hitting their prime until 29, 30. But yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to the quality in this team, the character in this team, and the leadership, both on the pitch and off the pitch, with the leaders we have, Retsos, Rodine, I think even Solakis. That was one of the things I noticed about him today that I wanted to comment on, by the way. He was so vocal in marshaling the defense today, something I hadn't seen from him before. I think that's another way that he can really develop and accelerate his growth. Seeing him really take charge at certain times on set pieces, or when attacks are unfolding. I thought that was really positive from him today as well. But I think we still have a lot of time to be patient with this team. Because they are remaining competitive. So it'd be one thing if we were just losing games left and right and looking really bad. That there would be a certain point then where you're like, okay, we would need to start worrying. We're still maintaining our competitiveness while we're integrating players into the team, while guys are getting fitness back. So I mean, I think once you get this team to November, December, and then into the new year, we're going to see a different beast. I mean, I'm really excited to see what happens once everything does come together.
You did again build up perfectly to what I was going to say. I think we'll know the ceiling of the team perfectly around when round one of the league is fully over, around like Christmas, New Year. Uh, there is too much things to going on, especially in the background, to fully judge this this squad as a performance yet. Like, of course, as I keep saying, criticism is always accepted, but we can't just completely destroy stuff. Like you and I said for Oliveira, for example, he needs time. Look at Ibora last year. Not saying he's gonna be, and he may be, but I'm not saying he's gonna be anywhere near that good. But players need time,
Well,
especially free agents.
and the fact that he stepped up today, in a tough game, I mean, I don't think there was any question today of his effort or his, the mentality coming from him. He was trying as hard as he could. And I mean, to be fair, as much as I think that he was a little loose with some of his touches, some of his passes, I don't think he made any major mistakes. So, I mean,
No, the main problem was that he was just too slow for this
yeah,
game.
he was slow and he was rusty. I mean, at the end of the day, I would rather take that and a guy that will be willing to step up, and he knows that he's not fully ready. But if the coach is going to call on him, he's going to step out there and he's going to give it what he has, and he did that today. So I mean, you have to keep that nuance. I mean, again, I think that's kind of like the overarching theme of all we've talked about is you have to really consider it in context. So as disappointed as you can be, as critical as you can be, um, it all comes from a place of wanting to see improvement rather than just attacking a player. I think that's one of the ways that our fan base and a lot of fan bases in Greece can really calm down, as far as like you can be critical of guys and you can have an issue with this or that, but attacking individuals, that's the kind of stuff that we need to get over.
Most definitely, even though I think we still have so much time until we fully get over everything. The last major thing that I did want to touch about the game is that I really liked how Mendy dealt with everything. Like, I really liked the full-on changes on the second half. I really liked how he moved Roddy back because he saw that Costinha wasn't really. Costinha, for a start, he's inconsistent, but with the positive signs that he's shown, I am really liking what he's doing, and I do want to just give him a full-on chance. I just, again, the same thing that I fear with most of our younger players. I just don't want to burn him out because he went from not playing to playing constantly, which of course is due a bad performance at some point. And today wasn't even bad; it was more or less on the mediocre side. But I really like the way Mendilibar handled this game, and he did so once again. That even in the bad games, we do have a coach competent enough to limit the damage that there can be.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's another good point about Costinha, and like kind of another fold on this game is, it is our third game in 7 days, and a lot of these, the starting lineup has basically stayed the same. I mean, for all three games, you saw, Musakitis, he almost went 90 again. Guys like Costinha, guys like, Rodine, El Kabi. I mean, to a certain point, I think we do have to kind of give those guys, a break as far as like, okay, third game in a week, and it's probably the harshest, highest intensity atmosphere they've been in the entire time. Um, I think that's part of it. So I agree with you. I mean, I think one of the things he did well was when he made that second batch of subs, we went kind of more defensive because he pulled off Costinha and was it Gelson Martins, and he only replaced one person on that flank because it was Danny Garcia in the middle and then Velde, who
It was a full-on complete formation change.
yeah. Well, I mean, and he was being intentional with that because Panathinaikos were starting to get a little bit of momentum. And he was like, okay, I'm going to put another midfielder on. We're going to take control of this game back. And then 10 minutes later, here comes, Yorgos Masouras. I forget who he replaced. It was Musakitis. pulls off a holding midfielder and puts on a winger, and then we put a little more pressure on towards the end. So I mean, you know, we haven't seen that from a manager probably since Valverde. I mean, I don't even think Pedro Martins was very good at that sort of game management. I thought that was one of his worst traits.
Martins just had his players and fucking ran with a 14-man squad.
I mean,
yeah, it probably has been since Valverde.
yeah. I mean, it's such a difference. I mean, to have a manager of his quality, I mean, I really, really, really hope that we don't hit a bad run of form at some point and get reactionary on him like we've seen Olympiacos and every other Greek club.
Jesus, that's my biggest fucking fear.
Yeah. I mean, could you imagine, dude?
At this point, nah, it's the last thing we need. This is basically, yeah, it is PAOK.
PAOK. Okay, then we have Ike right after that.
It's back to back. Yeah, this is basically more or less what I wanted to move into. Unless, do you want to say anything else about the game today? Yeah,
No.
I think we touched on everything. Yeah, is that thank Christ that up until PAOK the schedule allows us to rotate in the league, because it's Levadiakos, then it's Malmo, then it's Asteras, and then it's the Cup with Kalthea, then it's Panseraikos, and then there is Rangers. So thank Christ the schedule is relatively easy up until November 10th.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of games in a short period of time. I think this is going to be the one drawback. As much as we've liked the new format of the European competitions, there's more group matches now. So I mean, we have to deal with that. I think that next stretch of games, before we hit, Rangers and Ike and all of those games that are going to be super tough. I really hope that in some of these easier matches we can rotate some, but I think the biggest thing is just going to be getting some cohesiveness, getting some of these guys more integrated, so that by the time we get that tougher stretch, we can really
because following up, it is relatively very tough, because it is PAOK, Ike, Steaua, Ofi, the Cup, Volos, and then it's Twente. So yeah, it's November and the start of December is gonna be relatively demanding. That's why I am more on the thankful side that I'm back. What happened?
You were just gone for a second.
Yeah, but I know I just saw me disappear from the screen. I don't know why. But yeah, as I was saying, that's why I'm thankful that October and the start of November are relatively on the easier side. This is a thing also, speaking of the schedule, we do open up with Ike against PAOK right after the national break when we play Levadiakos. So that's gonna show a lot in the standings.
And which of those games are home and away? Let me look at that.
The games that I said?
Well, just the two derbies. So okay, so PAOK is away.
PAOK is away and Ike is at home.
So I mean,
PAOK away is gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough, but Aris won there, so who knows? Steaua just won there, so I don't know how tough Tumba is anymore.
I think it's Tumba will always be tough. I just think it's PAOK being fucking stupid and having an overrated coach.
We should still see that as a very winnable match. I mean, that's the thing. I do think looking at this stretch, the forgiving part is I think a lot of the really tough matches, I would say, other than PAOK, are all at home. So we play Rangers, we play Ike at home, we play Twente at home. Steaua away, that could also, I guess, be a very tough match depending on how well they're doing at that point.
That's winnable as well, though.
They should be. Well, I mean, the two teams they played, they have 6 points, but they played RFS, who worst team in the competition by a mile, and then PAOK
And
were
yet
just
they somehow. That's against PAOK as well. Like PAOK just got smashed by Gala and then just Gala go in and draw with
yeah.
Arakis somehow.
I mean, it's kind of hard to explain PAOK's recent run of form. I don't know what the hell has happened to them. But yeah, I mean,
Lucescu's usual second season syndrome has happened again.
they're going to fire him again, and then he'll be back in a year and a half, and they'll win the league. And
Yeah, he was apparently saying shit like this in his post match.
I mean, that's so PAOK. I mean, everything from the back, like the front office and the back end of that club is just
They're such a mess.
you can tell it's run by Ivan Savidis. I mean,
Yeah, you can
it's
completely tell
so
it was
apparent.
around by something. Speaking about the league in general, the last thing that I want to touch on, just slowly close up, unless you have anything else to say, of course. Asteras just smacked up Califea in Makelele's coaching debut here. That's something to keep in mind, given that they are our second game after the national break, and it is away.
Yeah, I
And we
mean,
all know how that goes usually.
there's a lot of decent teams in the middle of the table this year. I mean, even Olympiacos beating Ike today, they're above Panathinaikos. They are on 11 points. They're only
They're,
3 behind us.
they're three behind us.
It's just crazy. I mean, Ofi are having a decent start.
So are Ofi.
uh,
Ofi are three behind us as well.
and we were, I mean, talking about Atromitos, going to last week, like this might be a tough match. I mean, they're all the way down in ninth. I mean, I think that just kind of goes to show like there's a decent amount of quality in the league this year, and it'll be interesting to see if Makalele makes a big difference. Because I mean, based off today, it looks like maybe he might. I thought that was kind of just like a publicity stunt, but if they're getting results,
As it seems, the hype was more or less justified because they
yeah,
did. The madman went in and brought Federico Macheda, and he just scored the win.
yeah. Looks like we lost you.
I'm
There we go.
I'm above done with my connection. But yes, as I said, he brought in Makeda, who scored the winner today. So that's something as
And
well.
that's a decent result. I mean, Calithea, they haven't won any matches yet, but they've only lost 2. They only lost to us. They
Yeah,
lost.
it was just their second loss, which is again crazy to think about, given that they are now 4 points away from Panathinaikos. I think.
Yeah.
Up until 10th, this league is too close for my liking, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I really think, I mean, Panserikos and Levadiakos both do not look good. But I would say, well, Lamia as well, even though Lamia, they beat, was it Ike? They beat a big team earlier this season. I'm trying to remember who it
They
was.
draw with Ike, I think.
You're right. That was a draw. Okay, yeah, they almost beat a big team. I would really say, other than like that bottom 3, even Calithea, I think they're going to be more than fine come the end of the season.
No, Califea are fine. It's Volos that I'm still not convinced over.
Yeah, I mean, they spend enough money for compared to the rest of the league that I think they'll probably survive comfortably. Even though I would love to see them go back to the second division, just because they're like the Red Bull of Greek football. There's no club there. There's no fans.
Yeah, exactly like that.
It's embarrassing. I mean, I'm like, it's nice that they're decently competitive, but it's like it's so plastic and artificial. Like, exactly. I don't think we need Volos. Give me Banionios or Iraklis back. I mean, I've talked about them a ton. I'm like, give me some of these big clubs that have fallen on hard times. Bring them back up. Because you're not going to be playing matches in an empty stadium or where it's the entire crowd is Olympiacos fans or Panathinaikos fans or whatever big club is playing them.
I mean,
You know,
you can even talk about the same city by take Nikki back.
oh, 100%. I mean, again, I think having clubs that are just like kind of this artificially inflated, money laundering scheme for some rich guy that doesn't really care. Like, you know, I I would happily see them go down, but we still have the Valiakos and Lamia who are kind of the same sort of thing, just more shit. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's good for the league that there's probably 10 or 11 teams this season that are respectably solid, and can compete with anybody. And that's going to help us at the top as well. I mean, being able to play competitive matches every week is going to make us better for Europe because we're not, going from this practically amateur side to playing, you know, a Rangers or a Lyon or one of these, good European
Yeah,
sides.
as it usually has happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that's held us back in Europe is just how shit our league has been for the past 15, 20 years. I mean, it's been a while since we've really seen any competitive team outside of the big four and sometimes Aris, but even they're shit in Europe. So I think it's good. I hope it, keeps going on that way.
It does thankfully look like the Super League is rising, so yeah, we'll see. I am probably gonna start closing up real quick. Uh, we will probably go live again before. Is it England first or is it
England,
Ireland? It is England
we're
first.
at Wembley on Thursday.
Yeah, so we will probably go up for that, or if anything happens with Olympiacos, which I hopefully doubt, because football-wise, I do want to take a breather and fully focus on just the basketball. Which, of course, if you do want to join me, of course.
Sure.
But I will definitely be going up for that as well. And yeah, that's about it.
What are
Very
your thoughts?
unpredictable.
What are your thoughts for Thursday? I'm interested to hear this.
For
For Thursday, England.
Kane isn't playing, is he?
He's in the squad, so he might. I could
He
see them.
is.
I could see them resting him because I mean they have a lot of depth at striker as they do in every other position.
That, as is England, I can
Yeah.
say. I'm not hopeful. I don't think anyone is.
I mean, I think that the best thing that could happen for us is have like a similar match to France away last summer, where we kept it close, but it was, you know,
Yeah.
I just hope we don't lose by 3 or 4 and just get humiliated. I just like to see us keep the score respectable, but I'm with you. I
If
mean,
if I see Hadji Giovanni's in the lineup, I'm not watching the fucking game.
didn't he not get called up? I thought I'd have to look again. There were a couple. Maybe it was. Maybe I'm
it's
thinking Bukhalaki.
it's yeah. It's people like that. I think he's still called up. Sadly, I think he's still called up.
I think Solis should absolutely start that England game, given how well he's playing with Beruga. I mean, I'm really hoping that Jovanovic starts him and Kostatelia. So I think if he does that, then we might have a shot to like nick a draw or something.
If we beat England, let alone score three past them, I'll take everything back.
I mean, I would put $1 on that or something because I'm not very confident in that at all. I think if we got a draw there, that would be a massive result. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, we've seen England struggle against some smaller teams. I mean, we look at them at the Euros. Couldn't beat Slovenia. They couldn't beat Denmark. They barely beat Serbia. So who knows?
I'm
Something.
I'm I'm a bit hopeful solely because it's England and not a serious big team.
Yeah, but I mean, Lee Carsley might. They have a new manager now, so we probably won't see the same Southgate terrorism that we might have gotten.
True. I forgot he resigned. If
Yeah,
I'm honest with you.
that was kind of the worst thing that happened at the Euros. Some for us was
Yeah.
Gareth Southgate quitting. Um, no, I mean we'll see. I mean, I would honestly be stoked with a draw. That would be my ideal result.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Or I think best case scenario if you want to be very hopeful is like a scrappy 0-1 victory.
Mm,
Like I think that's top scenario.
That's like 1% chance, man. If
Yeah, I know.
that happens,
I'm
buy a
with
lottery ticket.
of course. But yeah, I'll let you enjoy your peace as well. Because Jesus Christ, I took up an hour of your Sunday.
I have nothing else going on, man. Not a worry at all.
Yeah, thank you once again, of course. And
So
that's about it. Thank you as well, everyone.